Hi everyone, my name is Nancy Leon. I'm the training manager here at Emily's List, and I'm really excited for you all to be joining us today for our Building Your Presence for future and current first-time candidates. So this training is more for beginners who are seeking to build your presence in your community. So if you're a little bit more experienced, if you've already run before, or you want to know how to continue, building your presence in your community as someone who's already elected, you might want to join our second webinar happening right after this one. But if you're a beginner, stay here with us. We really appreciate you all taking the time to learn with us today. Um, and just before getting started, we just want to do an acknowledgement and acknowledge the lives that were lost yesterday from the Asian American community that were stolen by an act of violence yesterday. Um, and we just want to acknowledge that we want to listen to the Asian American community and support elected officials who are fighting to stop this kind of violence. And we just want to say that we stand in solidarity with the AAPI community, and we will not tolerate hate or discrimination against this or any community. Thank you. Thank you all so much for sharing that moment with me. And now we're going to jump into the training. So, as we start all of our trainings, what is Emily's List? I'm just going to give you some background. We are the largest resource for women in politics. We help recruit and train pro-choice Democratic women to run for office. Since our founding in 1985, we've helped elect over 150 women to the House, 26 to the Senate, 16 governors, and more than 1,300 women to state and local office. We've also had over 60,000 women reach out to us and say that they're ready to run for office. So hopefully these trainings will give you the tools to set your foundation for your campaign journey. All right, and our webinar norms. Firstly, invest in our time together. There will be some interactive parts during this training, and we can see your chat in the chat box. So please feel free to interact with us through there. The more that you invest in the training, the more that you are able to get out of it. Secondly, all questions are valid. So there is a separate toolbar for our chat. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in there. And we also received your questions for some of you who submitted them through text, and we really appreciate that. So we will be addressing some of those today as well. And lastly, all slides are internal. We aren't going to send you the PowerPoint, but we will be sending you a recording of the training so that you can refer back to it whenever you need to. All right, and now I'm going to hand it over to our trainer for today, who's going to go through the agenda with you. Her name is Molly Cowan. She's the Northeast Regional Director for the state and local campaigns team. And I'm going to hand it over to her now, and then I'll be back for a Q&A section. So take it away, Molly.
Thank you, Nancy. Hello, everyone. I am really excited to be here with you all. This is really sort of the antidote to white supremacy and the really horrible violence that has been happening in our country for far too long. So I'm glad to be here. Anytime I get to train and work with amazing women in this network is a balm for me. So thank you all for being with me. And I'm excited to jump into this. So we are going to talk about why network engagement is important, building your brand online. Then we'll have a period of for questions, opportunities to expand your leadership, and then we'll end with another period of questions. And so before we move into the the training, I'll just introduce myself. Again, my name is Molly Cowan. I do state and local politics here for all of New England, New York, New Jersey, Delaware, sometimes Maryland, and I've worked in a number of other states as well for Emily's List and on my own in my previous roles. I am also locally elected here. I live in Exeter, New Hampshire, and I am currently the vice chair of our local select board. So that's the town government. I was first elected 3 years ago. I came up through democratic politics and activism, not through the traditional town structure. So I have a lot of thoughts about how you can, sort of carve both paths, and both paths are very valid, but mine happened to be, state politics and advocacy. I was working for Planned Parenthood the time I decided to run for office. I decided to run because and I don't know how many people I've trained already on this webinar. I know our staff here at Emily's List has heard this story a million times, but I'll share it again because I think it's important. A seat on my select board was open. Everybody in town was really excited about this young fellow who was running. He was knocking doors, he was talking about everything, he was saying the right things. He had gotten himself onto our budget recommendations committee, which is a committee that really dives into the budget. He was also really active on the planning board, the local planning board. And so he knew a lot of people in town, in town government. And then I had a really smart friend who one time sent me his Twitter feed. And all he talked about was, he criticized our federal delegation, who happened to be two pro-choice Democratic women serving in the US Senate. And all he talked about on his Twitter feed was their support of being pro-choice. So he was horrified that, that anybody could be pro-choice. He was horrified about this. And I thought, like, over my dead body, are you going to represent me on the select board? So I decided to run. I hadn't had any sort of local involvement. I'd been, I had two kids in the schools, but I had no real involvement in town government or town politics beyond the Democratic Party. And I worked my networks. I know how to campaign. I know how to network, and I turned my votes out, and I won by 10 points in a landslide victory. And then I was just reelected last week, actually, and I ran unopposed and was the top vote getter in my town. There were a number of unopposed races. So, a lot could happen. It was really great. So that is my story of how I sort of ran as an outsider, built a lot of power, and we'll go into sort of some examples of different ways that you can do this. But this is certainly something that has been done, can be done, and we're going to talk about it. So next slide. So here are the goals. We're going to learn best practices for building and expanding upon your existing network. We're going to talk about who you should target to have relationships with. We're going to learn about opportunities to develop your presence in your community right now, either as a candidate or somebody who's thinking about running. Okay, so your network: who, when, and why. What are we going to talk about? Right. So relationships help you establish ties in the community, understand your community's values and challenges, build trust with communities, and gain perspectives that are different from your own. It'll also help you sort of power map. So, like, who are your allies? What are groups that are going to work with you? What are groups that are working against you? And let you build your power to act on the issues, policies, and campaigns that matter to you. So this is really, your relationships are probably much deeper than you think. Even if you, like me, didn't really pay attention. It's not that I didn't pay attention to what was happening in my town. I was a young mom. I had young kids. I, frankly, had a lot going on with Planned Parenthood. I was working in a state with a Republican governor and legislature. We were just trying to hold down the fort to not pass abortion restrictions. So there was a lot going on, which is the case for everybody, literally everywhere. But you probably have a lot more relationships that you know, and this training will help you sort of identify and think about all of the ties that you do have and how to utilize those while you're either thinking about or planning on running for office, or you're running right now, frankly. Okay, so your network includes all of the people you know, plus all of the people who are invested in your leadership. So this includes your friends, your family, colleagues, community and industry leaders, activists and volunteers, and potential donors and voters. So the other thing that I want to talk about, when I ran, I was motivated to run because of access to abortion, which should be universal, like full stop. However, my role on the select board, I have zero say about abortion access or anything. You know, tangentially, yes, it's important. You know, we have a Planned Parenthood in my town. We approve permits and, you know, protests and things like that. But really, my my run didn't have anything, or my experience on the select board has had nothing to do with access to reproductive justice or healthcare. However, the people who are going to invest in your campaign are going to care about the same things that you care about. So if somebody is very strongly pro-choice, they're not going to want somebody who is anti-choice serving on the local government, even if it has nothing to do with voting on reproductive access. Does that make sense? And so you have to identify people, even if, you know, you're on the you're running for the local library board and all you deal with is the library. You want to identify and get people bought into why you are going to be a good leader. That has nothing to do with how many books are in the library. So this is a really good list of people to sort of start with your network. Like who do you know? Who are your friends? Who are your children's friends' parents? There we go. Who are people that you see in pick up or drop off? What community issues are happening? You know, is there a landfill that's being in your town that needs to be turned into something else? Are there solar panel initiatives? Like, what are the hot button issues that are happening in your town? Investigate those, find the ones who that sort of ring true to you and you can invest your own voice, and then start, you know, working with those kind of people, because those are going to be the people that you want in your network. Next slide. Okay, so here is your personal circle. We also use this same exact slide for who you're going to get your early money from. So like screenshot this and remember this, because this is going to be really important to compile a list of your personal circle when you're thinking about who is in your network. Who are your friends? Who works with you? What jobs do you do? What boards do you serve on? Who, you know, works at your house? Who's your doctor? You know, all of these things are incredibly important places for you to start identifying people in your network. So who should you build relationships with? And this is a really good sort of thing to start checking off. You should talk with current elected officials in the area. And I always say, you know, if you're thinking about running for somebody's office, you should meet with them, because it's a really illuminating experience. And if you are in service, if you are, you know, in elected office, you should meet with anybody who wants to meet with you. You should also meet with the leaders of the local Democratic Party. They are also, you know, some of the most active volunteers, and where recruitment takes place first. So, you know, if we are looking for example, you know, somebody to run in a state Senate district, we're going to go and ask the local Democratic Party first, who are the people that you think should run for office? And so if you know all these people and you have a good relationship with these people, they're going to think about you. You should also, and that was really key in my, you know, nonpartisan race for select board. My friend who sent me a link to this fellow's Twitter was actually the chair of our local Democrats. You should also think about the local progressive organizations, unions, environmental groups, et cetera. These are some of the most impassioned and wonderful people that you'll ever meet. They also have really sprung up since the Trump administration in a lot of different forms. I remember back in the Bush administration, and we thought nothing could get worse. And then here we are, you know, 2021, having lived through one of the most divisive and tumultuous periods in history. So who are those people? Who has come together and banded together during and post the Trump administration? Who are those people? Leaders of key constituencies in the groups in your district. So like, who are the president, or who are the members of the parent teacher associations? Even if you don't have kids, if you are running as a Democrat, You care about what happens with education. And so don't feel like you don't have a voice or you don't have a something to add to the conversation just because, for example, you don't have kids or you don't have kids in school anymore. You also want to establish relationships with key business owners, because those can be very validator voices when, especially, you're running for a campaign. They can be used to, talk about what good work you've done with the community. For example, here in Exeter, we have it's just a little fun bar right at the end of my street. He has a bowling alley, and they have darts and they have music every Saturday night. And during the pandemic, when we qualified for the Main Street funds and the relief from the federal government, because he's a one person, he owns his own shop. He's a one person, he doesn't have a team of anybody to help him. He made a mistake on his paperwork, and so he was denied any of the funding to help make him whole and survive this pandemic. And there was nothing that I could do as a select person in Exeter, but I checked in with him at least twice a month, and I made sure to call everybody I knew to let them know. I called the governor's office. I called some of my friends in the legislature. I tried to really advocate for him. Now, it ended up getting fixed because of a paperwork an administrative thing. But he credits me and the work that I did, which I was happy to do. I don't know how much impact I made, but it was the effort that happened. And so when you're in a position of power, when you're running for office or when you're in office, that's the kind of way to use it to help business owners. And of course, you should work with potential voters. And just showing up is often good enough. Next slide. Start showing up. So you want to attend your county local Democratic Party meetings as much as possible. So there's often a town committee. There's a county committee. They're usually scheduled on 2 different nights. Usually it's once a month. Those are really good meetings to make because you start offering service, you start offering to help, you start volunteering on campaigns, you're really dependable. That is the kind of person that people, when we are looking to recruit, that's the kind of person that we want to run for office. You want to connect with your elected officials. These are people who are, nonpartisan elected. Like, for example, my party ID does not go on the ballot when I run. And I have people who reach out who are undeclared voters, who are Republican voters, whatever it is. So you want to connect with your local electeds, because the other thing about local politics, really local politics, is it's a different sort of split. It's not always a partisan split. It's often a progressive versus staying the same sort of split. So this can sort of change and shift things and make for very interesting bedfellows. So the other thing that you want to do is you want to seek out the community activists fighting for issues you care about. So, this can be PFAS in the water, and you want to help the people who are fighting that issue. You want to talk about school choice or fighting to make sure that we have full funding for a fair and equitable education. Maybe it is reproductive rights and justice and access. Like, some of the offices that you are going to be running for are centered around that. And even if it doesn't have anything to do with it, those are still the community activists you want to be in touch with. And then you also should start attending legislative meetings for the elected body you seek to join and learn more about the issues that impact your community. So oftentimes these meetings are long. I can say that. I just sat through a 3-hour one on Monday. But they're often, what people are thinking about and talking about, and they're not sort of the sexy issues like the American Relief Act. It's not that. It's like, what is happening with the school schedule and hybrid learning? So you're going to want to know all of those things and how to answer those and have an opinion about them. So the other thing that you want to do is you want to build authentic relationships. You want to keep up with people's lives and priorities. You want to take good notes during calls, send a note for celebrations, promotions, whatever it is, and you want to update contact information as needed. So you know how Facebook has that, like, it's so and so's birthday, and it's sort of fun but sort of annoying. Like, when you have those things pop up on your Facebook feed, or if you're not on social media, more power to you, but like oftentimes we see that reminder. It's a good thing, instead of just sending a note on Facebook, which you should do because that's a good public record, but you should also reach out and text somebody and just start a informal conversation about oh, it's your birthday, whatever it is. If people are expressing, we're so interconnected, so we often know what's happening with people in their lives, even though it's weird and creepy and we see it on Facebook. And so we feel like we know what's happening in somebody's life. But if there's something that's happening with somebody, reach out in person rather than just making a note of it and saying, oh, that's great that so-and-so got a promotion. Like, reach out and say that. Same thing with news that's harder, ask if you can help, ask if you can. One of my friends here in town, she posted something in a group that she had invited me in, like a mommy group online. And she said that she was going to have a hysterectomy and she was really worried. So I happened to see that. And I, along with another friend, we started a meal train for her. So, little things like that, those things sort of make a big impression. You also want to build a community cabinet. You want to consider their networks and the information they can share about the community. And this doesn't have to be, part of my hesitation in like wholeheartedly endorsing this is you have your people and your gut reactions. And if we run campaigns or decide what office to run for by committee, those decisions never get made. So really sort of limit who you let into this group. But it is also a really worthwhile thing to consider what other people's viewpoints on an issue are. For my campaign, I had, sorry, another story. For my campaign, I had my friend, the Democratic Party leader. I had two other friends, and then one sort of spy who was involved in all of the nasty community forums in our town. It's like the worst place on the internet. So he was a really good person because I was not going to descend into that. But if somebody was talking about me in a bad way, he would be right there to defend me. So like those people, to identify those different things, that's a really good thing to have. Okay, next slide. Now I'm ready. So building and engaging your network is a constant process, and it doesn't have to be done perfectly. The same way we tell people to start your look at your Christmas card list or your holiday card list or whatever, to make sure that you're keeping people's contact information up to date. Similarly, you're going to build and engage your network, and it's going to be a constant, there's a cycle, and you do it well some months and you don't do it well some months, but it's always important to keep going. All right, we are going to talk about building your brand online, which I know can be a little bit scary. But you want to really sort of focus on what are the issues that you care about. Who are you and what is your background? For example, I am somebody I've worked primarily in issue campaigns and democratic politics. I also happen to have a master's in public administration, which is really good for running a town. Like literally, that's what I did my master's in. And so that's sort of what I really wanted to get to the forefront of why I decided to run, because I was experienced and knowledgeable even before setting foot or being elected. And then, why do you care? What issues do you want your community to associate with you? Mine happen to be reproductive rights and justice. I've worked for Planned Parenthood. I now work for Emily's List. It's something that I'm really passionate about and care a lot about and will always speak up on. So that, that works for me. It might not be the same for you. What are the things that you care about? And then you want to show your work. How are you involved in your community? What are the ways that you show up for people? Do you always show up if there's a BLM protest? Do you always show up to make sure that the library books are being sold? Do you work with Girl Scout? Whatever it is, there are so many millions of ways to authentically engage in your community. Next slide. Okay. So then we want to talk about building your online brand. I know there were a couple of questions that were texted in, and we can answer some of those when we get to our questions section. So first, you're going to probably want to reserve and buy a domain name for your name for whatever you're going to run for. We like it to be as generic as possible. And also, for so many websites and races, you do not need to have a very big or complicated website that has a ton of information on it. You just need something really basic. You also want to set up Google alerts. If you are choosing to run, you want to set up a Google alert for your opponent, the person you're running against, your likely opponents, and yourself. And the other thing that you want to do is update your LinkedIn profile. It's really important. It's one of the first things that pops up about you. And if we're down like 4 jobs, that's not an accurate representation of who you are. Then you're going to want to write down some keywords describing how you want others to describe you as a public figure. So what are the things that you want associated with you? And then brainstorm online content that highlights how you want to be described. So even if you are constantly helping local businesses and during the pandemic, you ate out at a local business once a week and posted about it. Like, that's a really great way to uplift local businesses. If you want to talk about the water quality in your town or the bus routes or whatever it is, think about how you want somebody to describe you. So third, you want to use all the apps to post on-brand content. And by all the apps, I primarily mean Facebook and Twitter. There are some, sort of forays into TikTok, which honestly, like, I haven't done that. I let the young kids do that. But it's also where we're going to meet a lot of the young voters and the young activists. And then, I mean, the other thing that I want to talk about is you can ask people to help you with this. This is not something that you have to be good at by yourself. There are people who are, total introverts who want nothing more than to just build somebody's Facebook site or help you with your Facebook site or help you with your Twitter, whatever it is. Ask for help if you don't know how to do it. Then you're going to, as part of building your brand and as you launch all of this stuff, you want to write blogs, write a blog post. You want to write a letter to the editor. Those are usually 350 words. You want to share articles, photos from events. A great way to gather and draw people into your network is to start a petition. So, a petition to close down the main street every other Saturday for a food truck parade, like whatever it is, that's meaningful to your community and to you. Something cool that we've just started in our town, which is we now have curbside, sorry, not curbside. We haven't gotten there yet. We now have on-site composting at the transfer station. So I've been posting about it and sharing all of the infographics from our DPW. It's just, it's sustainable, reusable, and a great way to be environmentally friendly. And, finally, you'll build a website that shows you off. So I also want to be really clear about this. The main things that you want on a website are like the about you, a good picture that you would want anybody else, if somebody's going to write an article about you and they want to use a picture, like you're going to want to have a nice picture that's, high quality that they can just grab off your website. The other thing that you'll want is a way to contact you. If it's a info@mollycowan.org, or, teammolly@gmail.com, whatever it is, have a way for people to contact you. And then finally, and I'm going to say this because it's Emily's List, have a place for a donate button to raise money for when you're running for office. Next slide. So, part of this thing, part of the communicating information is celebrating community programs, share resources, pass on public information, like I talked about with our exciting foray into composting. You're gonna want people to trust your information, and you're gonna want your people and people in general to find you and find relevant, good stuff that they can rely on, that is going to be pithy, that is going to be usable and shareable. The other thing to do when you're first build, and this is something that I've learned as I have run for office now twice, it doesn't hurt to email a small number or text or whatever, however you communicate with your nearest and dearest, and say, hey friends, I'm about to post something on Twitter or Facebook. Can you please like and share it? It generates buzz. It is not cheating. And it'll, the engagement piece will go up. So that's a great way to engage your nearest and dearest and that sort of inner circle that we talked about before. Next slide. So you also want to share your thoughts. And this is where I want to talk about something that a lot of people ask about, taking strong opinions or being a fierce advocate for something, right? So you want to develop a brand that is authentically you. You don't want to, sort of pander to whatever you think your community wants. You don't want to be afraid to take strong stances on controversial issues, but you do want to do it in a mindful way of how you want to be perceived. So people will be happy to vote for someone they disagree with if they respect you. And you earn people's respect by speaking your mind, by not shying away from things that you passionately care about, and also by doing it in a way that makes you feel whole and authentic to yourself. So the other thing that I want to talk about is writing an op-ed. It's a really great way to sort of hone your skills, develop some policy issues, talk about things that you care about. And it's a good opportunity to develop relationships with your local paper, with local reporters, with whomever. So you want to frame your opinion piece in a value, problem, solution, call to action format. It's a very simple format. They're usually not more than 1,000 words. So this is not sort of a thesis or a treaty. It's a quick, it's a longer version of a letter to the editor. And you'll want to begin your piece by connecting with the reader, sharing the piece's main thesis and providing supporting evidence. And then you're going to want to provide a solution to the problem. So this could be, say your state is facing tremendous Republicans are introducing legislation that limits access to voting, for example, or reproductive rights. Let's talk about that because here we all are. So you'll begin by connecting with the readers, assuming you want to assume support, right? You want to assume that everybody reading this piece is as strong an advocate for reproductive choice as you are. You're going to want to talk about the awful things that the Republicans are doing in the state legislature. You're going to want to talk about how Republicans should not, in the middle of a pandemic, they should not be cutting access to a constitutional and defensible healthcare. Abortion is healthcare. We should be concentrating on getting communities back together and whole rather than, arguing about women's autonomy. And then you want to provide a solution to the problem. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to ask supporters to contact their legislature and their legislators and ask them to vote against these reprehensible bills. Next slide. So then for placing an op-ed, you'll want to check submission guidelines, find the best contact to pitch your opinion piece to, and send it to one outlet at a time and let them know it is exclusive to them. Include a 3 or 4 sentence overview of what the piece is about and your qualifications. Now, if all of this doesn't work and you still have this beautiful piece, this beautiful op-ed, you can still publish it on Medium and share it around. So it is still absolutely worth it to write an op-ed with the assumption that you're going to get published. All right, let's look at the questions.
Yes, hello, I'm back with some questions. All right, so our first one is, how do I balance a public image with my current career or non-public ambitions? For example, how do you handle your current job while also campaigning or preparing to launch a campaign?
That's a great question. I think, different employers have different rules about what you can do. For example, in Massachusetts, if you work for the state government or city government, so if you're a teacher or a town administrator or whatever it is, you cannot fundraise while you're running for office. So you have to make the ask up until you're asking for money. So there are you have to make sure to check and see that you're not running afoul of any of your employer's rules that they have in place.
Mhm.
And then, there are certain jobs and industries that are just so much more open to having people serve in elected office than others. And so you really have to be mindful and consider what it is that you're wanting to get. Are you in a position that you need to run for only nonpartisan office? I know that there are a lot of places, like I have a couple of current active duty military, and they can only run for municipal office because it is a nonpartisan office.
Mm.
The second they run for, legislature, they have to declare a party, and that makes them ineligible to run for that office. So you really have to think through the costs and the benefits. You also have to, some campaigns, some offices require full-time campaigning and having the ability to campaign full-time. Local office often, I had a full-time job, I have a full-time job, and I'm serving. And it's a very part-time commitment. So all of those things, I'm sorry, I wish I knew more specifics to tell you a little bit more, but you just have to really investigate what it is that's permissible and what you feel you can comfortably do.
True. Thank you. Our next question, and I feel like we already touched a little bit on this in terms of like the social media, Twitter and Facebook things, but what's a reasonable time to have a website up and running? Which social media platforms are helpful to have, and which can we do without?
So in an effort to be fully transparent, I don't have a website. I didn't feel like I needed it. I had a friend who years ago bought the rights to my name just because he said, someday you're going to run for public office and I want us to own that. So he owns, he owns my domain. So that's something that you're going to want to do regardless of if you have a website or not.
Yeah.
So first thing, make sure to do that. And the other thing, like buy all of the variations of your name, because people can be really sneaky about, mollycowan.org is my website, but mollycowan.com is something that I don't want associated with my name. So campaigns and the opposition can be sneaky. So be aware of that. And then, if you're running for a local office and a really local office and you want to just have a Facebook page, like that's okay. And then I really firmly stand behind what I said about having it be really simple. The last thing that I want to encourage people to do is to delay running because they haven't, perfected a website or they don't have all their policy, like none of that is important. People need to be able to reach you. They need to know who you are, and they need to know why you're running, and they need to be able to reach you, and they need to be able to donate to you. Like literally that's all. And then, we did talk a little bit about other platforms. Facebook is a really important one because, as the median age is creeping up on Facebook, like that's where the voters are. And so it might not be super cool to be on Facebook, but like that's where all of your voters are. Twitter is less for voters and more for like the political influencers, especially the media.
Mm.
So, be mindful of that. And understand that that is not where you're going to persuade or target your voters. That's where you're going to persuade and target the political elite and the media and some of the donor class. Like that's where they're going to live. And then I've seen people, I think it's helpful to use Instagram because I think it's helpful to, run ads on Instagram. It's a different audience. And then TikTok, like somebody has to explain that to me because I have no idea. But also, I was on a DNC call last night for LGBTQ leaders. And, that's where the young activists are. So like, we've got to figure this out. So I know, Nancy, that's my next campaign. I'll ask you for some TikTok.
You'll learn some TikTok dances and
Yes,
put up
that's
some
right.
cool facts on the screen. True. Thank you. Our next question is, how do I deal with other candidates reaching out to the same organization or group?
So that's a really great question. And I think that, we have a lot of that in a lot, some cities, some states are moving towards ranked choice voting. So there's multiple people who are going to be in the same race with you, potentially, in the potentially through the election. So I think what Emily's List has typically done, we reach out to any Democratic pro-choice woman who's running for office, regardless of whether or not they contact us. So in targeted races. So I want to be clear about that. So if we're looking to endorse in a race, we will reach out to whoever is running on the Democratic pro-choice woman side. And the thinking is, a rising tide lifts all boats. So engaging with other candidates who are engaging with you, it's not going to make you worse. It's going to make everybody better. And you also have, in this business, you've got to have a thick enough skin where you can handle a little competition and just be really good. So I think the best thing to do is to be really gracious, is to, think that this is going to make me a better candidate, and also understand, like, people pick sides in primaries, people pick sides in general elections, and that's just the nature of the game.
That's very true. All right, and our last question that we just plucked from the Q&A box actually is, we are in a ranked choice city. People are used to running in slates. Are there any suggestions for slate running? How do I distinguish myself from the other slate members?
That's a great question. And I've seen it happen. I've seen it work in a number of places. Like, for example, Cambridge, Massachusetts. I just talked to somebody who was running for the city council there yesterday, and they're sort of thinking about a really progressive slate, which probably makes a lot of sense. And I think that especially in ranked choice voting, there is a tendency to sort of like try to make alliances and try to get people on board with your candidacy. So like, my supporters put me first and you second, and your supporters put you first and me second, or, to bullet vote or whatever it is. And I think that the best thing to do is to be authentically yourself. And I do think that slate running makes sense because it works to share resources. Also, it works if you are, if there's a slate of progressives and a slate of not progressives, or a slate of Democrats versus a slate of Republicans. But I think it can get a little tricky when there's, it's a jungle primary and you're just all trying to get through. So really take a look at what has worked in past elections, especially if your state or your district is not new to ranked choice voting. See what happens, and really dive into the numbers. A good place to find those things are the clerk's office in your city or the Secretary of State's office.
Cool, thank you. We also have some researching tips in our fundamentals of running for office training if this person wants to go take a look. Yeah. All right, so we're going to move on to the second section of the training. I know we have lots of other questions, so we'll try to get to them in the second Q&A, and I'm going to disappear now, but I'll be back.
Whoops. I've done something. Okay. Okay. Opportunities to expand your leadership. Let's talk about those. So here is when we transition into just, thinking about, okay, you're on this webinar probably because you're thinking about, or you are running for office. So what are the issues and values that are motivating your thinking about running? Consider the ways you can impact those issues outside of elected office. So a lot of these opportunities include serving on a nonprofit board, volunteering or organizing for a cause, serving on a citizen advisory board or committee. All of these things are, a very local way. And this is, by the way, not how I got myself elected. So I went the other way, right? Like I worked with the outsiders in the Democratic Party in a nonpartisan election. This is an sort of an insider way to do it, which I would recommend doing both. So you should check your city, county, and state governments for appointed board positions. Are you an expert in child mental health? Do you run a daycare? Do you have a degree in library science? Like, what are you an expert in? Look for places that meet your expertise that you can add something to a dialogue. You want to check for vacancies and expiring term dates. You also want to, one of the things that I would do is I would look for, somebody who is of the same political persuasion and of your interest, that is serving on the board or on the government body that elects this, and say, because oftentimes, there are sometimes vacancies, there are sometimes whatever, and you might miss it. So if you talk to somebody and say, hey, I'm really interested in serving on the local conservation committee. I know that there aren't any openings, but I've been going to the meetings and I'm really interested. If something happens, keep me in mind. And then they'll reach out, because this doesn't happen very much. They'll reach out because they remember that. You also want to consider the qualifications and time commitment necessary for the appointment. For example, I have to serve as the select board rep to the planning board. And boy, is that an undertaking in terms of time. My Thursday nights are gone. I never have any time to myself, but it's something that I'm really interested in and invested in, because the planning board controls the housing affordability piece in our town. Once you know which boards or committees you are interested in, attend a meeting and listen to the issues and see how they work. It's really good advice. Boards, committees, and commissions. So they're typically appointed volunteer-based bodies that advise government officials on a range of issues and participate in policy discussions. The other thing that I want to say here is, if there isn't a board or a commission or something in your town on something that you're really interested in, start a lobbying or effort and petition your local government to start that. Our town in Exeter didn't have a sustainability committee before I started. It was a huge issue in our town, so we formed a sustainability committee. Same with the rec advisory board. So even if it doesn't exist, that doesn't mean it can't exist. It allows you to use your professional and lived experience to empower and influence your community. This is so true. This is so true. Okay, next slide. You want to update your resume to reflect your relevant experience and expertise. Oftentimes these positions include an interview, so be prepared, have a statement prepared about why you want to serve, what qualifications make you qualified, etc. It's for every job. You want to introduce yourself to your representative and make sure that you build the case for the skills that you bring, and know that your candidacy may be voted on by the legislative body. And sometimes, especially if you have a legislative body that is not particularly persuasive, it would be helpful to get a bunch of people to write on your behalf that you would be an excellent representative for whatever it is that you wanted to serve on. Next slide. So here are some key takeaways. So you're going to want to start your network. your current network and expand outward to build a community that knows you and your leadership. You want to engage your network, and it is a constant process. You want to set realistic goals. You want to check out appointed board opportunities to find a way to serve your community while considering your next steps. All right, other questions?
Yes, we have some more. And the first one kind of touches on how to make sure that you're keeping the community updated without disappearing. So they asked, how do you keep up with an online presence if you're doing it all on your own? And if you just want to focus on getting the job done and not knowing how to navigate those waters, like you don't want people to think that you disappeared, but you're also maybe overwhelmed and the only person working on your social media.
I mean, I so feel that. So I think it's helpful to, have a group of people who can send you good articles or links or, update you, bring people in, say like, you literally cannot do this by yourself.
Yeah.
The other thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get on a listserv from your local Democratic Party or your state Democratic Party. Now, I know, for example, our New Hampshire Democratic Party, every morning they set out a clips list with different news articles that are happening. Tons of places do this. So subscribe to this because that's a really easy way to just pluck something that's relevant and was published that morning without having to feel like you need to read every single newspaper, which is it is a goal that I set for myself every day, and every day I do not meet that goal. So I can totally empathize. I also think that you should really enlist, trusted people in your circle, friends, other community leaders to sort of text you and say, hey, this is happening. The other thing to do is, when you're on Twitter, is to just like hashtag, NH politics or Mappily or whatever, whatever the trending hashtag in your state about politics is, and just do a quick scan. Doesn't have to take very long, but that's a good way to, sort of get around it. And the other thing is like, get on your town's mailing list. Some of them don't have very robust ones, but, oftentimes there is a bunch of information that you can then share.
So true. Thank you. Next question is, should I stay away from controversial issues and or endorsing in primaries when building my presence in my community?
That is a great, great question. So we talked about it a little bit, and I think it's really important to you can absolutely have a strong stance on an issue. There are so many cases of people being right about, and standing firm and building a brand based on that. I mean, like, look at Bernie Sanders, right? He's been screaming the same thing for 45 years. Aaron Brockovich, all of these community leaders that you can definitely point to who are right about things. I was literally just listening to the Fight for 15 podcast this morning about how people just totally dismissed that movement. And here we are where most of the majority of Democrats support the raising the minimum wage. So I don't think it's bad to take strong stances. I think you have to be mindful of how you convey them. So you can be really passionate and also respectful and gain, even people who disagree with you will still respect you. Similarly with primaries, it can be really tricky. I think that you can endorse. I think you should be as transparent as possible. And you should also be thinking about like, okay, so this is a purple state, for example. There's a Democratic primary for governor, and I'm going to endorse the person who's running way to the left. But I am thinking about running in a very purple district. Like, how is that going to play? And how can you make that case? So you have to be mindful. And then the other thing that I would always encourage people to do is be upfront with people that you're endorsing against, and, and tell people why.
Got it. And this is going to be our last question just for time. I know we have so many other ones. I wish we could get to them, but gotta make an executive decision today. All right. So the question is, I'm concerned about my past social media presence. What should I delete or worry about? Is it a problem if I have a photo in a bikini or with a glass of wine?
Oh, friends, like that stuff is nothing. The things that you're going to want to worry about are, did you retweet something that you don't agree with anymore? Did you, you know, we are coming into an age of social media where things are living online for a long time, and opinions and identities and what's sort of socially acceptable has really changed and shifted. So you're going to want to take down things that you've shared from racist and homophobic comedians, for example. Like that's something that I would take down. A picture of you sipping wine with friends, that's not a big deal.
Mm,
Same
very
with your bikini. If you want to wear a bikini, more power to you.
so true. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Molly, for running this training for us, and sharing all of your firsthand experience on being an elected and building your presence. So thank you
It's
so
been
much.
my honor and pleasure. Thank you all. It's been so much fun.
Awesome. All right. So just to move into our closing, just want to plug the training center. If you haven't already been there, please join. It's free and it's got a lot of different modules and even more tools on running for office, handouts, videos, all the things. So please join the training center. If you aren't already a part of our Run to Win Facebook community, also please join. You can get a lot of advice from women who already ran, who want to run, who are thinking of running. And they're just a huge support system for anyone thinking of running for office. And just a reminder that you are not going to receive the PowerPoint, but you are going to receive a recording and some other resources in an email afterwards. Um, and Elect Women, thank you so much to our partners for helping us put on this training. We couldn't do it without them, and we'll see you next time. Bye.